Awesome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our workshop. Onboarding is just the start, turning feedback into competitive advantage. I'm Maya, founding engineer here at 14AI.
I'm Nimesh. I'm a co-founder at Edgedive.
And I'm Michael. I'm co-founder at 14AI.
And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. So before we get started, we want to start out with a fun question. What's your favorite sport? So feel free to put your answer in the chat. And Nimesh, what's your favorite sport?
I would say football. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I was born in Cleveland. Not the best place to be a Cleveland fan, a Cleveland sports fan, but it's I'm a loyal guy. So I follow it pretty much every week.
Awesome. I know the season is in full swing now, so I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not going great for Cleveland. So yeah, just another year. Yep.
Awesome. And Michael, what's your favorite sport?
Tennis. How about you?
I would say tennis too.
Yeah.
Ugo from SF and tennis. Awesome. We have another tennis fan as well. And before we dive into our discussion, Nimesh would love to hear more about Edgedive and your journey to founding Edgedive, and kind of how you think about your company in the space.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a wild journey. We actually started our company as a real estate brokerage soon after I left LinkedIn. Yeah. We were originally called Bramble. We went through YC and we were able to. We were basically selling. We were basically helping home buyers buy homes using AI to facilitate a lot of the process. And it was a very, very difficult industry, and just wasn't really having the growth that we really wanted. So we started to pivot towards something that was really close to home and something that we personally had really experienced at LinkedIn ourselves, just building products and trying to make them better constantly. And so that's why we ran into this concept of how do you actually just take customer feedback and then actually just do something with it, right? It's mostly qualitative information today. It's a very manual process to figure out how to handle all of that. So we said, let's figure out how to process that and then help people actually accelerate their development cycles out of it. So we've just been building out this product and have started to sign quite a few customers in the last few months, and it's been a pretty tremendous journey where we thought we were going to pivot one way, and then we ended up pivoting another way, and then you kind of have these little refined directional changes as you go. So
nice. So what would you say is the main pain point you identified that prompted you to go all in that direction?
The original primary pain point that we found was just that people have, especially at scale, people have a lot of volume of feedback. So maybe thousands of support tickets or hundreds or even thousands of sales calls, and people just we're not doing anything with that feedback. When I was at LinkedIn, me and my co-founder, who was my product manager, we would try to identify, why should we solve this specific product or roll out this very specific feature. And in order to do that, we had to basically find a way to slice and dice the customer data, understand what a very, very specific segment of customers actually wanted, and then deliver on that very specific need. And if you're working with mostly, funnel data, meaning a user stopped on this page and a user stopped on this page, and you don't really get that qualitative understanding of, this flow just isn't working for me, and I wish I had this thing. But if you have that data and you're able to actually slice and dice it, then you can actually just deliver really for that need. So we were having that very specific problem. And that also translated to the very specific use case of just how do we prioritize our bug fixing and our support engineering, right? Like that takes up so much of the engineering team's time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the primary pain point that we started with, and our company has kind of gone a little bit deeper on this like support engineering side of things.
Mm-hmm. Why do you feel this starts becoming like a problem? Obviously, as a early stage startup, everyone is involved, everyone is completely aware when there's like the smallest thing like not working or most pressing feature that needs to be built. Do you have a sense of when these things start like crawling in?
Yeah, there's like usually certain volume numbers that people end up hitting. It's usually like if you have upwards of like 50 or 100 customers, then it's just like the channels become too large for you as a founder to just be always on top of it, on every single call, on every single support ticket, on responding to every message from your customers. So at that point, you still start having this like organizational breakdown, which really is a very core part of this problem, right? Like different organizations have to parse different information and then pass it on to other organizations so that they can actually do the right thing with that. And that's a very core part of like what our platform really does, right? It just makes it easy for everybody to actually access the data in the way that they want in a central place, and they can just go in and do what they specifically need with that.
Thanks.
And yeah, from your YC batch to now, what surprised you the most about how how customers or how companies actually handle feedback from their customers?
I would say that the thing that we were maybe at least less surprised about is the fact that companies weren't doing anything with their feedback. Definitely kind of expected that people were just like taking the feedback and then just letting it sit. But what surprised us more was that when that feedback is actually utilized, they still just weren't doing anything with it. It was more of a sense of like, yeah, I like searched through this feedback and it's cool. That's really awesome. That's exactly what I thought that our customers would be saying about things. It's like you as a product manager or a founder kind of already have some internal compass of, or what's wrong with your product. What have your customers that you've specifically been talking to kind of already been saying about your product? But then when you work through that feedback in mass, it's like, yeah, okay, the top like 3 things that have been said, it's pretty much the same. But then they're not taking that to actually solve the problems and take action on those problems. So let's say somebody says that like there's a button on your homepage that's broken or something like that. I mean, how do you actually identify that issue in an automated fashion and then actually go and then solve it? Right? Those things are not actually being done today. And so the initial version of our product was not this action-oriented thing. It was actually we'll just give you the information. We'll process the information and you can actually utilize that. But again, the response was like, yeah, this is cool, right? Like we'll probably use it, but then we're not actually making an impact on how we are actually doing our development after that. So that I think was the biggest surprise for us after starting Edgedive.
So now that you've been in production and signing a bunch of customers, do you have a sense of the qualities of teams who are just like nailing this? So I was speaking with the team at Linea a few months ago, and they told us like basically everyone is involved. So they don't have a dedicated feedback team or support team or anything. Basically, there should be no support tickets at all whatsoever because they have a very sort of obsessive approach to the product, and it should basically just be, at any given time, it should be like working and almost like perfect. And I remember very fondly a previous company. There was this company in Europe called Trainline or the Capitaine Train back in the days, and they had this total obsession on like customer feedback and quickly like bringing that to the product and then also following up with customers when their like suggestion was implemented or their like the bug they reported had been fixed.
Yeah.
So obviously there's the part like closing the loop and getting back to the customers on, thank you for your feedback. Now it has been addressed. Have you seen some patterns in what makes teams just excel at this front?
Totally. I think you kind of answered some of it yourself. It's like those really customer obsessed teams, right? It's just those teams that are just always, what is the customer saying? What is the customer saying? Like I need to like drive my platforms in a more reactive way, drive our development in a more reactive way to what our customers are actually saying. I think the teams that are simply like, well, we just kind of have an idea of what we want, and we're just going to go and build that, and then hopefully the customers are gonna like it. They're the ones that are, I think, naturally not doing this as much, right? But what you just described of going and closing the loop after you actually solve this, like these are all such critical pieces of how you just like make that interaction feel so good for the customer and for yourself, right? When you yourself actually deliver something, you're able to go and tell the customer, you're like, man, that felt so good. Like I just delivered that like really awesome thing. I just like, really met their need, and they were like, wow, I'm so glad that like this is actually back, right? So I think that loop is like a very, very core part of this process.
I think this, I guess, it leads to another question, which is also like how these feedback loops can empower teams internally to just like ship these features, because their work, like an engineer fixing this bug or developing that feature from that like specific customer, it's very energizing, right? And I really like your approach to also combine this like with PRs and so on, because everyone gets like ownership on handling this feedback. Basically.
Yep. Yes. One of the things we have seen, especially, I mean, in the way that we even handle this ourselves, is just if you can have one person who's able to actually handle the whole process, then you can accomplish this loop without a lot of information breakage along the way. So if you have a system that's able to go and automate your feedback, your support ticket processing, and then be like, oh yeah, I like understand this issue. Now I'm going to go investigate this thing. Maybe it even investigates for you, and then it's able to actually generate the code for you. And then once you've actually shipped it, then that person says, okay, I've like owned this all the way through the process. Now I know it's in production. I can just go in and like click a button and let the customer know, or send a Slack message back, right? That I think is where organizations will eventually be as these automations continue to improve. Right? You'll actually have one person who can actually accomplish a whole workflow with like much less information breakage along the way.
Thank you. That's super interesting. We have a couple of questions from the audience. So the first one is, many founders talk about the tension between being customer driven and staying focused on a long-term product vision. How do you personally balance listening closely to feedback without getting pulled into building every feature request?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have this problem all the time. I think that I generally bias towards just finding that customer pull. I would say the balance, the key balance here is not all customers are always the ones that you also have to serve for. You kind of have to find the specific ICP, the ideal customer profile, that you need to make sure you're building towards too. So if you're selling to like just founders, make sure you're addressing the feedback and shipping features that founders are pulling you towards. Don't build the thing that enterprises are pulling you for, because they're probably having a totally different set of problems. And I think that is how you can make sure that your customer feedback is actually what's driving your development a lot better. Whereas I think if you do it a little bit more of a strategic approach, you may be attempting to approximate what that is. So it's always just talking to customers has been the most fruitful thing for us.
I think there's another thing that I would love to hear your thoughts on is, obviously at a certain scale, you got to look at numbers. And so you're faced with, this dilemma of, are you going to have a qualitative approach or a quantitative approach, right? Are you looking to compile, like, how many requests would that like tag, right? Or, how many times was this like issue mentioned? And I feel like what's happening now with LLMs is really interesting because you can actually combine the two, right? You don't just need to compile matrices of metrics, but you can actually have LLMs go much deeper in like analyzing and producing insights. And so we potentially have a solution to that problem, that we just like churn numbers versus we actually like listening as like humans would do, but at scale. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the beauty of like where we are today is like you can actually quantify the qualitative now, right? So, the way we're approaching this problem is that we want to be able to assign urgency to every single individual request that your company has gotten, right? Things won't get done in your organization unless somebody specifically feels like that thing is important. So how do you actually convince the organization that something is very specifically important? You tell them that like specific customers have actually asked for this thing, right? You quantify the contract values of those customers. You attempt to actually quantify impact. Maybe that's like product usage, things like that. And what's cool is that because we can now extract qualitative information and structure it, you can also assign quantitative values to that, right? So that I think is a very core part of just like why this is even possible today. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question from the audience: how do you ensure that your feedback process doesn't overrepresent the opinions of a more vocal subset of your users?
I think you have to make sure you are using a variety of sources. So support tickets, I think maybe could be a bit more of like that vocal set of users. I think as a founder, it's important to make sure you're going and just like talking to the customers that you want to talk to all the time. And that's where we get a ton of our personal understanding of where the product should be able to go. So there's like the three main categories we've seen are messages, that you're responding to your customers on, sales calls or just like meetings with people, and just like support tickets, that come in through like Zendesk or whatnot. And you kind of have to incorporate all of them. Some companies will have more of one because they're very, very support driven, very, very reactive. And some are just going to be all sales calls because they're just only like a B2B type of thing with like large contract values. I think you just have to incorporate the large variety.
We have a question about privacy. So how to properly integrate language models into the analytics process when potentially dealing with private customer data that can't be exposed to cloud models?
Very, very, very interesting question. Pretty top of mind too, I would say. A core part of like how we have to process data is just like obfuscating things and making sure that you have like good measures to such that by the time your data is actually being utilized for search and processing and extracting requests, you're not like surfacing like credit card information and stuff like that somebody may have posted in like a Slack message or something like that. So there's a ton of amazing work being done in a lot of different companies today about how you can incorporate that into your pipelines, and it's pretty critical to make sure that you just have that type of control.
Great. What's the future for Edgedive? Where do you see like the future of customer-centric engineering and product development?
So Edgedive, in the future for us, we believe that it is your AI support engineer. So imagine that your product quality backlog, your on-call channels, your a lot of people have like these Slack channels where feedback is posted and it's like, hey, like our customers really want this thing. Can we just get this thing done? And then nobody does it, right? Those types of things. Imagine you just have this support engineer that's just literally going and has infinite bandwidth and can just go and tackle all these things and parses through the feedback and puts up code changes and then just needs your reviews to get it all done. That's our vision for the future, where we just don't want companies to have to worry about spending so much time on how do we like allocate time and context switch towards like fixing bugs and making sure that the product is in a good shape. And instead, how can they just focus on their strategic initiatives, right? We just very strongly believe that workflow we found a way to like truly automate that to a pretty high fidelity.
Everyone is becoming AI engineers, I feel. Every single role, like engineers are becoming AI engineers, support teams are becoming AI engineers, sales teams are becoming AI engineers. Ultimately, it ends up like being more or less the same. We're converging towards this general profession, I guess, which is to like tame the agents.
I think it's like an agent manager. Is how I
Sure.
I think that's a lot of my job today. We just have these agents running around and building things, maybe finding information, and then you just you make the hard decisions on what to do.
Speaking of which, like how much like educational part do you dedicate to the work here, which is like educating people and using these systems properly? Because I feel like there's still a lot of work in not just showing how it's done, how it can be done, the potential, but also shifting the mindset towards like non-deterministic systems. Right?
It's a ton of work actually, because a lot of companies just simply, I don't think they're aware of what it can do, and what they don't need to have to do, and so our approach, because of that, is like a very white glove approach.
Interesting.
So we don't really have much of our system is not really like you set it up yourself.
Okay.
What we do is we go and we work with companies. We help them understand here's all the available AI tools. Like, have you guys tried all of these things? Make sure you've tried those, and then like here's how we can embed our system into yours and like really make it work for just whatever you guys have today. And I think that has done a really good job of bringing them along the way into like how advanced AI has really become and what are all the new cool amazing tools that you can actually use today. Like some people haven't heard of Claude Code, and it's like, well, that's what we use very very core to how we develop.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing all this like sort of this term coming up in the past year, the forward deployed engineer, right? And I guess this is due to the fact that we need to spend a lot of time like educating our customers' audience. Do you see like a short-term future where these things will no longer be needed and that we have a fully self-serve solutions?
I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion on that yet. I've personally just found that it is very difficult to get through that last 10%. It's like easy to get something working, but then a lot of AI products, it's like, oh yeah, it's just like this is cool and it provides a lot of value, and then somebody drops it after a month or two, right? Because it just like simply doesn't work for your workflow end to end. So a ton of the work that we have to do, especially with white glove onboarding and like what I think the companies that you're talking about who have like a forward deployed engineer, it's to get through that last like 10-15%. Just whack-a-moling problems along the way until you can finally get there. There's just it's such a large span of different types of problems that I'm not sure how yet the self-service would work, but I'm sure somebody will figure it out eventually.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously something we're thinking about a lot, and it's not just in order for us to be able to scale. It's also to think about in terms of like product, how we can make sure that once this is deployed within a company, that the company feels in ownership and control, that this is something that they understand fully and they don't need our expertise anymore to run it in the long term. So we're making a big bet here that ultimately these systems will be self-serve. And so how can we build in the mechanics in the product to make sure that this is, not just easy to set up and easy to understand, but also easy to operate at scale. And as you mentioned, that one of the problems is the whack-a-mole problem, the constant adding of like edge cases and so on. And so I think there's some very interesting work being done right now in prompt optimization, for instance, where we can have systems that basically self-heal over time. And all it needs is a bit of feedback from humans every now and then. And so I like the picture of, transforming this to actually, instead of us telling the agents to do, the agents tell us humans what to do. So we're working on behalf of the agents. Basically, I think this shift is kind of important.
Totally.
Because, the agents can do, like the AI agents can do things that are no longer like a human scale, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think this is an ongoing topic. But
interesting. I'd be curious to dive into more of how you guys are doing that.
Yeah, for sure. But I think, unfortunately, we're just running out of time. We can take it, afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Nimesh. This was such a wonderful conversation. We learned so much, and thank you so much to everybody in the audience who came and participated and asked questions. So feel free to sign up for our workshop next week. We're going to be talking about designing great AI QA systems. So you'll see the link in the chat right there, and stay tuned for our workshop recap as well. So I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Nimesh. Thanks for coming.
Thanks.